Guys, so this video is going to be basically a 10 or 11 month review of the AHP ALPHATIG 200X, along with some background information on me. I attended WildTech back in 2009 through 2010. While I was there, I decided I wanted to go a little further than just the basic courses, so I ended up taking an extra course of chassis fabrication, where not only do you learn, chassis fabrication, you also learn some basic welding techniques, which is one of the main reasons I took that class, because I wanted to learn how to TIG weld, which was a very small part of that class. They taught you very minimal TIG welding steel, essentially. No aluminum at all. So fast forward almost 9 years now, and I work in the automotive performance fabrication industry. I'm basically just a TIG welder. I do very minimal MIG welding. So when I got my last job, getting back into the motorsport fabrication industry out of just general repair, of course I had to brush up on my welding skills because I hadn't welded in 3 years. So after a couple months of working there, I decided it was time to get my own TIG welder for at the house for practicing. So of course hopped on Craigslist and found a good deal on a slightly used Everlast, DC only. It was a 160 STH, which was a pretty decent machine. It served me good. But of course, after 6 months or less, I wanted an aluminum machine for at home, because it seemed like every time I needed to do something at home, it was with aluminum. So then I'd end up having to take it into work anyways. So I started looking around, and I didn't have, $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500 or more to spend on a TIG welder, basically for fun, essentially, seeing as how it was going to be for at home. That's when I stumbled across the AHP. So of course I did some research, hopped on YouTube, watched everybody's videos that I could find on it, and the one thing I found is there were tons of videos on it, but they were all basically unboxing and, first using it, first impressions of people that had never TIG welded before, which is all fine, but I wanted someone's genuine opinion on the machine. Jody over at Welding Tips and Tricks did one, and for the most part I trust what he has to say, but it's hard to say. You never know who's getting paid or not anymore these days. So I ended up just taking the risk, and I sold the Everlast and bought the AHP. I've had it for coming up on a year now, and I literally use this thing every single day. Every day. In the almost year I've had it, there's maybe been a total of 5 days where I haven't used it. Maybe. And I haven't had a single issue other than the amperage display quit working. So no matter what I set my amperage to, it shows 004, but that doesn't matter to me. I contacted AHP. They told me, send it in and we'll take care of it, but I just can't be without a machine for that long. Especially these days, I'm doing work out of the house, so I can't just send away my only TIG welder now and wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 or however long. So it doesn't bother me at all. The only other issue I've had is where I'm working at currently. We have a Synchrowave 250 SD, and I can't stand it. Straight up cannot stand it. Every time I use it, every morning when I get to work, and I walk over to my area and go to get ready for the day, I crack open my argon bottles, make sure I have argon, and I never know if the welder's going to turn on or not, because the power switch on it's freaking out and going bad. So you'll flip it up onto the on position, it won't turn on. You have to turn it off and on a handful of times. And then once you do get it on, if you start welding, it seems like there are days where it'll weld all day, no problem. And then the next day, it seems like I'll go in and, weld a few things first thing, and then it'll sit for an hour or two, and then I'll go back and I'll have, 5 or 6 things to weld, and within 30 seconds of striking an arc on it, it just shuts down, won't strike an arc. I look over, it's got an error flashing on the screen for no flow of the cooler, even though the cooler's got flow. I've proven that. So you have to go over, turn the machine off, then turn it back on to reset it, and it'll just do that non-stop all day. Or it'll pop the breaker. So I got pissed off with it one day, and I brought my AHP into work and had it hooked up to the 120 plug, and it was running great. My boss was amazed at how much nicer the welds were with it, to the point I've got him convinced to buy one. And actually, I'm 99% sure he ordered one on Monday, along with the cooler. I don't know what brand cooler he ordered, but I know for a fact he ordered one. But one of the guys I work with, I had a doctor's appointment, and I just left my machine there for like a week. And I had a doctor's appointment on Thursday morning, so I came in a little bit late. When I got there, the guy I work with was freaking out because he had some 1/4-inch aluminum that needed to be tacked up for me. And he's decent enough with the welder, he can tack shit up. And because it was 1/4-inch, he unplugged it from the 120 volt adapter and plugged it into 220 at the shop, turned the welder on. Well, we don't have single phase 220 there, we have 3-phase. So he basically flipped the power switch, and he said about 5 seconds later he heard a loud pop come from the machine. And the fans turned off and wouldn't come back on. So I fucked with the machine for a couple days trying to figure it out. I found the high frequency board had been popped. It literally, the contacts going from one part of the board to the other literally blew off the board. The board was still intact, but the metal contacts were gone. So I tried to fix it, and I couldn't. So then, of course, I got sent an email over to AHP and told them what happened. Because at first they wanted me to send it in for warranty, and I told them, I was like, man, it's not going to be warranty. It's going to be operator error. And I was amazed. They sent me an invoice for PayPal for a new high frequency board, the entire board, and it was something retarded. It was like $26 shipped to my front door. I couldn't believe it up until I got the response from them. I had been looking all around because I figured it was going to be a couple $100, and at that point I might as well buy a new welder. And so for less than $30 I had the new board at my house like 2 days later. I couldn't believe it. Was blown away at how inexpensive the board was, how great their customer service was. Like I said, I have beat the shit out of this welder, and it's ran every single time. I never come out here to weld something and worry about it not turning on or not working. It works every single time, and it works good. I've been talking with another guy, welding junkie, and he has an HTP Invertig 221, and me and him got to talking, and he's actually getting ready to order AHP as a second welder, just as a backup or as a second welder to train on. And so he was wondering how good the arc was on the AHP. Well, alright, there's 2 box cutter blades I welded up on the AHP. So if you ask me, I'd say that it's pretty damn good. But it's like I told him, the only kind of quirky thing I found with it, and it's not necessarily quirky. I know a lot of people that say when you weld aluminum on an inverter that to do it with a sharpened tungsten, they then knock the point off it. Well, this right here is standard, pretty much grind I use on my tungstens. As you can see, I mean, it's sharpened, and I knocked the point off it, and that there's pretty much what I use on steel, and it works good. Now if I get into thinner steels, like this right here is a 1/16 that is pretty much ground to a point, so I don't really bother to knock the tip off on those. It works just fine. Now with the AHP on aluminum, this is what I found works the best. Same grind, but with I don't know, 1/8 of the actual grind knocked off it, knocked flat. So, I mean, right there, they're ground same angle. For the most part, I mean, I'm sure it's off a couple degrees, but you see how much flatter I have to knock that tip off. Here's another good example. And I've just found that when you weld aluminum with this thing, that if you don't knock the point off all the way, like I have on that one that I just showed you, that you actually get quite a bit of arc wander on start. Not necessarily even on start, the whole time. But other than that, I mean, if there's anyone out there thinking of buying an AHP, whether they've TIG welded before or not, I didn't really want to recommend this welder to anybody up until now, because even though, I mean, I've had it for almost a year now, you never know. One thing I've learned being in the performance fabrication industry is you got to be careful on what you recommend to people, because there are people out there that if you recommend something to them and they get it, and within a year they have an issue with it, they then turn around and blame that on you, essentially. Oh, well, you know, I bought the same machine and mine only lasted a year. Why'd you recommend that to me? Well, because mine's lasted 2 or 3 years. But it's not necessarily just that. You know, I wanted to get a decently long-term opinion on this machine. And to anybody out there, highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. I've welded with Everlast, with Millers, with Lincolns. Hell, my last work, I worked with ESOBs. And so far, I haven't found a single company that matches AHP for value, for customer service, for anything. No one touches them right now. They might not have the highest tech, knowledge-wise, machines out there, but for the price, you can't beat it. You get an AC/DC machine that's not only got low speed pulse, it also has high speed pulse. Up to like 200 pulses per second. You can adjust AC frequency, AC balance. I mean, nothing else out there for the price touches it. And like I said, when I had issues, one email, that's all it took. I sent one email letting them know what was going on, and I got an email back by the next day trying to help out. When I first got the machine, it was really weird, because for like the first month I had it, every time I light up on AC, it had a real weird crackling noise. It wasn't the high frequency. I never figured out what it was, because it just quit and ran smooth. But it was weird. It was like a crackling on top of the high frequency that you hear. And so I emailed AHP, and it was like Memorial Day weekend or something, and we were emailing back and forth on the weekend. It was a Saturday. They had me sending videos to them, getting opinions and trying to figure it out. And before I knew it, the machine quit doing it, and I was happy. So the guys over at AHP are awesome, phenomenal. I can't express that enough. And what's funny about all that is my last place of employment, we had a sponsorship through ESOB. So we had a older ESOB TIG. I don't even remember what it was. It was like a 221 or something. Big ass TIG welder. Transformer machine with built-in water cooler and all that. That it was broken just about as much as it was working. And then we had an older ESOB MIG welder around the same age. And then my first day there, ESOB had just sent us a brand new Rebel. I hated all three of them, to be honest. And like I said, our TIG welder, our dedicated TIG, was broken more than it was working. And with that being said, okay, think about this. We had a sponsorship from ESOP. They sent us a Rebel for free. We had boxes and boxes and boxes of 10-pound TIG rods. Like, we would get a shipment of boxes that would have three, inside of one box would have three 10-pound or 5-pound boxes of TIG wire. We had like 8 of those kicking around the shop of all different sizes and specs for free. We had consumables, boxes of consumables for free. My second week there, I think, I was having issues with the TIG welder, so my boss told me to go ahead and give them a call, give technical support a call, and let them know who I was and what company I was with. So I did. The guy on the other line gave him my name and who I worked for. Alright, 1 minute, got on the computer, and he was like, alright, what can I do for you? You guys need, is there something you guys need? And I was like, yeah, I'm having issues with our TIG machine here. And basically was just barely listening to what was going on. Was like, well, I can get the address and phone number of the closest ESOB repair dealer to you guys, and I can give them a call and tell them that you're going to come by and drop it off, and to make sure it's repaired. Like, really, man? Like, you're not even going to try to troubleshoot it over the phone with me? You basically just, go drop it off. And we would have had to pay for it. It's not like he was going to call them and tell them to take care of it for free. So with that being said, you know, for AHP to actually help me diagnose when that high frequency board blew over the phone, and as soon as I told him what happened, he knew exactly what had happened, exactly what popped. Just a really great company overall. I'm going to do a little bit of couple beads for you guys, and then I'll end this video and shut up so you guys can get back to your lives. Definitely not the nicest thing I've done. It's way parts super heat soaked. But I mean, that's that. Like I said before, great TIG welder. I would actually prefer this over half the shit that costs 3 times more. Alright guys, I hope that helps you